All right, says that we are live. Well, we'll see in a second here. We are. Holy crow, we are live. All right. Welcome to Eight Questions with. I'm your host, Patrick from Have Cheetah Will View. I do believe the cheetah is floating around here somewhere. He might make an appearance later. Uh, so tonight's show, I'm very happy to have as a guest an old friend of mine from back home. Yes, I'm still bringing my friends back home because they're really fascinating people. Quite honest with you. Tonight we'll be talking to Mick Gray. Me and Mick knew each other from our music days back in San Jose, where I was a talent buyer, and Mick worked at KSJS as the DJ and program director. Um, as we all went our separate ways, Mick also had a hidden talent I did not know, and that is he is a hell of an artist. And how good of an artist is he? Well, if you saw the picture for the thumbnail for this show, you saw part of his work. That cover, Superman, that's Mick. He is a very good artist. He's worked both for Marvel and DC, working on several comic books there. Hey, what's going on, Waffles? Waffles in the house. Katie's in the house. Uh, uh, Mick will be here, and he'll talk about his career in working for different houses, and he's also got working on some independent stuff as well. But yeah, I mean, could you imagine actually working not only for Marvel but turn around and working for DC? That is a very small world, very small. There's not very many people that can do that work. It's hard to break in. And so we're going to talk to Mick about how that happened and where it took him and where he is now. He's also gone back to, he's never lost a love for music, so he'll be here talking about music too. And I'm excited. I truly am really excited for you guys to meet him. Hey, Waffles. Hey, I'm sending you out a couple of packages tomorrow. I'm sending you a couple of things. So, yep. So I will send you a snapshot of of the post office. Hey, Kalel, how are you, sir? Good. You know what? I'm glad you're here. Uh, oh, thanks. Well, you know what? Speaking of Kalel, you're going to be really happy to meet our guest tonight. That's Mick Gray, who's worked on the Superman comic book, um, and he has drawn many covers and many books. So you guys you'll be fascinated to see him. Yeah, I think I did pretty good. I thought my pickup was pretty good this time. Hey, Ron, how are you? How are you? Wow. Okay. As always, feel free to share us out if you got community tabs. Anything that you guys can do along the community tabs, share us out. I'll be most appreciative. For the bottom of my heart. So, so yeah, we have some snafus today. We had a guest scheduled earlier today, but unfortunately he was ill, so I couldn't have him on the show because he was not feeling too good. Yeah, we've been sort of jinxed lately. We've been sort of jinxed. we had a we had a bad connection last Tuesday for Sherry Davis, and then we had Tom couldn't make it today, and I'm hoping that Darren will make it. We did a test run on the show, and he did not have the best internet connection, so we are not sure if that's going to work for us or not. We're really hoping. We'll be contacting him a little bit later. Um, so I'm not sure about that. He's supposed to be here at 2 o'clock tomorrow afternoon. Crossing my fingers. Hope that he will. And then, but tomorrow night, we will get Alexis Iacano will be here, and I'm very excited to meet for you guys to meet Alexis. She is wonderful. She is beautiful, and she is talented. and she'll be here talking about her career. She is a producer and actress, and she's also a voiceover actor who's done many, many video games. She is a sought-after talent for video games. She's probably best known for the World of Warcraft video games. So she'll be here tomorrow at 8 o'clock. And of course, Thursday night is probably the rock solid show. Everybody knows, everybody knows Knight from the Night Watch Zone. So he'll come by and visit us on Thursday, 8 p.m. So we're gonna find out all about Knight and where he came from and how he established the zone. And we'll talk about his brother Killian, a little bit about Coriander, a little bit about Jerry. Uh, that'll be here at 8 o'clock. I hope you guys all show up for Knight. You guys all need to show up for Knight. Let's see. So that's gonna be on Thursday. I will say this, that we did reschedule Sherry Davis. Sherry Davis will be with us in January, so she will be here. We just had to push her back. And then and the same thing with one of our guests for next week. We had to push her back too, and that was Rachel Ferguson. She actually went back to work. She'd been out of work for a while, and then she got a chance to go to work. So what can you say? You can't stop somebody from working. But next Tuesday, we're having the first roundtable here on 8 Questions With. We will be talking kaiju films. We'll be talking about our favorite monster movies. We have Larry D from Larry's Heat and Horror. We also have Mr. Bones will be here. He's a big kaiju guy, along with Casey and from Interwith Kaiju and Cody from H&S Collectibles. We are all big Godzilla, King Kong, 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea, Gamera, Godzilla, Jaguar, Gigan, you name it. We're a fan of all kaiju. So that'll be here at 8 o'clock next Tuesday. That was going to be the only show we have on Christmas week. So we'll be back, though, on the 28th with our first film composer. We're talking to our first film composer. And that will be Mariano Sausalino at 8 p.m. And then we'll be talking to actress Sonia Richards at 8 p.m. on the 29th. And then I'm bringing back another old friend of mine from San Jose. Our good friend Natalie Fajitas will be here on the 30th, and she's got stories to tell. She is one of the very first people on the West Coast out in California to book Nirvana. Nirvana went, and before they were picked up, they were just on Sub Pop, and they were just getting out their first one of their first tours, and she knew enough about it to book them. So she booked Nirvana and Mudhoney at a 150 person room. It's an amazing story. And that'll be here. That'll be the last show of the year. Hi, Kevin. How are you, sir? So I think all in all, we have a pretty successful end of the month coming up here. I'm very excited to present it to you folks. Thank you for sharing us out. I really do appreciate that. Sharing us out really helps out. Wow. Okay. Let's see. See, you watched the movie called Roadside. Dollar Tree. Oh, okay. All right. I like that. I like that ISC feel to it, for sure. It's funny what I got into watching this week. I stumbled across it. My buddy Catfish had it in one of his books, so I was going through one of his books, and the series is called Into the Badlands. It aired for 3 seasons on AMC. I remember seeing the previews for it, but I never watched it. And then I started watching it this week. Yeah, I'm hooked. That's a great show. Wow, that's a fantastic show. It's over with now, but wicked. So much so I put it on my watch list. I got to see if I can find the second and the third season for relatively a fair price, and yeah, for sure. Mick will be here with us in about 5 minutes or so. And like I said, our guest is Mick Gray. He is an artist and he has done he's worked on many comic books for both DC and Marvel. So he'll be here talking to us about his art, how he creates it, what the process is, and how did he get inside the comic book business? Because I have seen a lot of talented artists that have been interviewed, and they have not been able to get past those doors. It's hard. It's very hard. And to hold on to it. Uh, yeah, Katie. I saw you. I'm glad you booked Dennis and the two girls. I think that'll be a sensational show for you. That'll be a that'll be perfect. Dennis Malin and Valencia and oh gosh, what was her name? Oh, gotta go back and get the name. Angela. Angela and Valencia. That'll be a fun show. Uh Midnight Hour on the 19th. We'll see the return of Hobbs Horror. Hobbs Horror will be hosting the show on the 19th. I don't know what he's got up his sleeve. I'm sure it probably has something to do with the spectacular. He's all about pumpkins. I'm sure, when people set up their Christmas tree, Hobbs sets up a pumpkin tree. So you know how that worked out. And then on the 26th, I'll be hosting the show. I'll be hosting the show on the 26th. In fact, I'll be double heading again. We will have the IFC Midnight Nights. We will be looking at a movie called Kill List, and that will be on Ben's channel, Cadaver Club. Hi, loves. How are you? Welcome. Let's see. Yeah, that'll be on Cadaver Club's channel. I got to make a banner for that, which I'll do tonight. And then afterwards we'll do the last show of the year. Oh, I know what Hobbs is doing. Oh my gosh, I think it's our anniversary show. I think that's what it is. I'm not sure though. We'll have to see about that. If it is, then I got to come up with something. And then, oh yeah, speaking of that, so since we're not going to be live next Wednesday, since we're not doing a live show next Wednesday, I can turn around and tell you that there will be a show hosted by David's Horror. It's called The Screaming of the Lambs. It's going to be I'm not sure if it's going to be a new show. I'm not sure when it's going to air, how much it's going to air, if it's going to be once a month or whatever. But our own Hobbs Horror is actually going to be part of the panel. He's going to be on the show. So as soon as we know a little bit more, we'll definitely let you guys know. Probably even as late as Wednesday and Thursday. Hopefully have an idea what time it will start, and I'll see if I can get some information for you guys as far as that goes. And of course, what else is going on in here? Oh, the new we'll talk tonight too. Night from Night Watch Zone. That guy has more shows going on than I can't even keep up. Honestly, I cannot keep up with the Night Watch Zone. They have so many different things going on all at once. Of course, I'm going to contribute to that. I'm contributing to that mess. We're going to do our ISC show on the 26th. We're doing Kill Limits. And then in our very, I can already hear the people like laughing already, but that's a good thing. But we're going to be collaborating on a movie that I'm getting next week, and I've been very excited about it. We're gonna collaborate on it, and it's an A24 film. That's right. I'm going to collaborate on the A24 film. Hey, Raymond. It's good. It is going to be crazy. We are actually going to be taking. I'm not sure exactly when it won't be till January. I'm sure of that. I'm sure it won't be till January. Maybe the first week of January. I want to find a date for it. But we will be watching and discussing Saint Maud that came out on A24. I'm very excited about that movie. Um, Probably one of the movies of the year I have been looking forward to. Um, I'm supposed to be getting a copy of that. I bought a copy of it, and thanks to Cody from H&S Collectibles, who gave me a heads up to a guy who was selling a very reasonable copy. And so we'll be talking about Saint Maud next week. Not next week, but next year. All right. All right. Make sure our good buddy Mick is on his way in. Yeah, I'm looking at my calendar, and I just been snake bit a little bit. I will show you a little bit about January though, because January is coming up really soon, and we got some good stuff coming up. Actually, we got some good stuff. We got the return of a couple of guests are coming back to say hi and let us catch up with them. We will be talking to return of Mike Ferguson will be here. In fact, he will be kicking off our first show of the year on January 4th. And then Anthony from the Cinema Squad, Anthony from Fever Dreamland Theater, he will be here on the 3rd, on the 5th, and we'll be talking all things Twilight Zone. I really like Anthony quite a bit. He is a really good guy, and his extensive knowledge of the Zone and other films is very impressive. I'm looking forward to chatting with him about the status of the films, and we'll talk a little bit about the Cinema Squad, what have you, too. And there is our guest, Mr. Mick Gray, is coming through the door. Ta-da. Yes. Ta-da.
Can you hear me?
I hear you, Mick.
Yay!
I hear you. Woo-hoo.
How are you?
Hell yeah. Doing good, my friend. Doing good.
We haven't talked in years and years and years.
Man, many years. How many times have we stood outside one of the clubs? Marsugi's or Cactus or FX?
Oh my God.
Man, just wow. Like,
those were some great days, man. Those were some great days.
I definitely miss them. We had KSJS down there. We had KSJC, the big rivals,
Yeah, I was at both stations at different times, but when I was at KSJS, the only reason I was there was because I knew if I got into KSJS and got into the promotions department, I could go to shows at Marsugi's for free.
Yeah, that's right. You actually booked us on quite a few shows, actually.
We did some big ones, man. We did. I remember giving away tickets for Nirvana there, man.
You know who we're talking to at the end of the month, right? We're talking to Natalie. I'm talking to Natalie. Natalie Frieder.
Oh, yeah. I want to listen to that. That'll be fantastic.
Natalie will be here, and definitely will be. One second.
No problem.
Oh. Thank you, Katie. Every time we go up live, we get a one of those YouTube bots comes in here, and then we have to take care of business.
Bots.
So, yeah, I don't know, they're dropping links to porn sites.
Oh no! Yeah. Last year, I started doing KMIC radio on Zoom last year. When everything came down with the pandemic and everything, and around Christmas time, we're doing a Christmas show, and some big, large, fat, naked Santa came in just out of nowhere, man. I mean, I was just like, I didn't know what was going on. I just closed everything down. We just started over again. I don't know where that came from. That hasn't happened since then, but
That won't be happening here tonight. No, that will not be happening here today.
You don't want
The
it.
most extreme thing you'll see here today will be a cheetah, and that's about it.
Oh, that's nice.
You might see a cheetah pop up, but he will be clothed.
Oh
Um,
man.
yeah, man. I'm just thinking. I'm trying to remember. I remember that you booked us. You booked us a guest. Had us. Oh, I know what it was. I know what it was. You had me and Brian McGinnis come down to talk about our show we did at FX. We did Alice Donut.
Oh,
We did Alice
yeah.
Donut.
I think I
Oh, that was,
remember that happening, and you guys came down to the station.
yes, yep. And then he told us a Sharon Jennings story, and we were all like, "Whoa!" I
This
love.
is this is all just like, I mean, my mind is going, what? I can't even barely remember the days back then. Of course, I was high a lot too, so I don't
Well,
remember
yeah,
anything.
yeah.
It's another world, man.
College radio, man. What an odyssey that was. I mean, if all the people, I always enjoyed working with college radio so much more than commercial. Oh,
Yeah,
I just couldn't stand commercial radio.
yeah, it's a total different animal, man. People are volunteering at KFJC and KSJS because they love music, and then you
Right.
go work with the guys that are jaded, and they don't like that they can't work at a college radio station anymore. They have to make money to survive, and it's a different world. I had a lot of friends in commercial radio, but I always went, I'm not even gonna go there because I've heard too many horror stories about people working in.
You know what's funny? You know what's funny? It's like right after Jewel hit, right? So Jewel popped, right? And so she came down and she actually played a show at the Agenda Lounge.
Wow.
So yeah, that was that was fun. Yasa got Jewel to come up there and play. We actually ended up getting her later on at the Edge. And of course, she had one thing in common at both shows, and that was she was dead ass late.
No, that's not cool. That is not cool.
Well, the solo gig she was late for by like 20 minutes, but the other show she actually made it in at the she opened up for Belly. Remember Belly?
Yeah,
Tanya. And so she opened up for Belly, and she literally got there. I mean, she grabbed her guitar and had to run through the back door. I had to open up the back door and let her in and let her run in and to do the show. Tremendously good show.
One of a hell of an artist. For talk about somebody that can just get up on stage and just mesmerize. That lady can, man.
Yeah, she was beautiful. I mean, and she sang beautifully. I mean, it was like a great show. I just remember standing there at the Agenda because I was working there. I started booking the Tuesday nights there, and Jewel was like an added little bonus. It was like, okay, here's your first show on a Tuesday afternoon. So it was like, okay, awesome, all right, way to kick it off, right?
Oh, really?
So,
Great way to start.
yeah, so there's a hand-picked crowd of 100. It was like 100. It was KSJS, or no, KSJO, or KOME. That's what it was, KOME. So they booked her, and then was that what it is? Was it KO? Oh my lord, I'm trying to remember the big stations back there. Well, anyway, they booked Jewel, and then I'm sitting there going like, I'm listening to her. Honest to God, Mick, I'm going like, why isn't Penelope Houston doing this? She's doing the same type of music. How come she getting this kind of coverage? Or Barbara Manning?
Pure luck.
So,
There's two names you just named there are just phenomenal artists, and
they, I mean, as far as vocally goes, Penelope Houston is easily a Jewel's match.
and both of them are gorgeous songwriters too. They write beautiful songs.
Really extraordinary.
I heard somebody was just saying recently they went and saw Barbara Manning perform, so she's still performing. And I just saw Penelope Houston do an Avengers show on streaming from Golden Gate Park or somewhere like that, just in the last 6 months.
I was wondering. See, I knew Barbara got married, and I thought that she retired.
Maybe she did, and maybe she's just like starting to trickle back in. But I heard somebody say that they saw a show with her just recently, and I was like, "Oh my god, I would have loved to have seen that." But I'm just starting to break back into going to shows. I've went to 3 I think, since everything started to open up. And I got to, you know, when you start, after what we went through, you got to feel comfortable. I was always, you know, a Great American Music Hall guy. And when I went to the Great American Music Hall in San Francisco, I was like my second living room. And I would sit down in the balcony and I'd be sitting there reveling in the experience. But now when I go to a show, I'm still to that point of, I'm not really comfortable yet. I know I'm going to get back there. I'm going to have to work my way into it, I'm afraid.
You know, it's funny. I would think so. I mean, I definitely would go to a show. I definitely would wear my mask.
Yeah, you have to. You're
I
required.
know. I would definitely feel more comfortable at a smaller venue than a bigger venue. San Francisco, man, they've taken a beating. Slim's is gone.
How about a lot of clubs, a lot of bars have went down. The interesting thing that I've heard about the venue association, I don't know what it's called, but they all early in San Francisco said, fully vaxxed, you must be masked. They said this, they, you know, came out as an organization and said this. And I was like, that is just really, really amazing that they got together and did that. And the first show I went to, it was just 4 or 5 months ago, something like that. I wanted to do K-Mick Radio get together of the people that listen and come out to K-Mick Radio. And we said, let's all meet at Yoshi's in Oakland for Lee Ritenour. Great. Fantastic. I call up Yoshi's and I go, excuse me, I'm just looking at your website and you don't have mask requirements and you're not even saying whether people are vaxxed or not. Across the bay, the whole city is doing this. Why wouldn't you want to be part of that? They couldn't give me a.
No, it's funny. I went to the library today. I went to the library. I go to the library once a week, and I'm sitting there and we're talking. And I hear these people talking about their kids. They're being homeschooled. Now they're doing virtual learning, and these two women they're bitching about it. Like, my kids the kids need to go to school. They need to be in front of a teacher and all this and that. And I'm like, this is not good. My son, once he went back to school, his grades started going up and everything else. And I just wanted to, I kept my nose out of it. But my goal would have been, the reason why this is happening is because you got the assholes who don't care about your kids. They don't want to wear a mask. They don't want to get vaxxed. They want to expose your kids to this. This is why your kid is now at home.
Yeah.
Our state is being crushed again. Right now, I think we're actually leading the country in COVID right now, and the new virus.
Now we have a holiday coming up too.
Yeah, we're getting wiped out, and that's the reason why. It's because it's not that we don't want to, it's not that we don't want to do virtual learning, but you got people who won't get their kids vaxxed, who won't wear a mask. And so there you go. I mean, it's
tough. I don't know what we can do about it. There's just such a division, and it seems like it's against, vaxxed versus not vaxxed. I mean, it's life. It's not human compassion. It's not even a. It's just. It can't be a political thing. It can't be a question. It just has to be. Yeah. We need to help each other and make it work, so we can at least try to get back to a new way of living. You're never going to get back to whatever you thought was normal. It's going to be weird from now on. But.
You know what it is, Mick? It's just the Pandora's box. You know how that works. Once the virus got out and yeah, okay, Crowder, we're gonna go there for a minute. So hang on to your chairs. But the fact of the matter is that Trump handled this completely wrong. He knew about the virus way back in August. He knew what had happened, but he sat on it. He did absolutely zero. He said he didn't do anything about it. He said he did. And then he came out there. Then he said it was it was a hoax. It was the Democrats doing they're hoaxing everybody and everything else. 800,000 Americans dead later, and
they're still saying that kind of crap.
Yeah.
It makes no sense. It's lunatic
Well,
talk.
they're just, you know what though? You look at Nazi Germany, and they went to war, right? Went to war on two different fronts, and you want to sit there and ask the citizens, like, what the fuck were you thinking about how this is going to end? Did you not think about what would happen to your country and to your families with
Yeah.
with a madman at the wheel? But they didn't care. They was like, oh, it was all right until it wasn't okay, and then it was like, oh well, we didn't expect this to happen. Well, what do you expect? That's the same thing here. If you don't go ahead and get yourself vaxxed and treated, and like you said, even if you don't want to do it for yourself, okay, great. Don't do it for yourself, but do it for your neighbor. Do it for your neighbor. Do it for your kids. Wear a mask. You don't want to get a vax shot? Great. Don't get a vax shot, but wear a mask.
Yeah,
Do do
common
you know,
sense,
yeah.
human compassion. I that's the thing that I just see that it somehow went out the window. Why is there no care for the other person? I mean,
Because we had a fascist for a president for 4 years.
that split, yeah, that
Really, what it is. Look. It's wow. This is. Okay,
this
this is
is not
funny.
a
This is
political
fun.
talk show,
Yeah,
Patrick.
yeah. How did this happen? But it's okay.
I started it.
Because yeah, no, it's okay because it needs to be said. Look. Russia had Trump by the balls, right? They had him by the balls. He needed money. No banks were lending him money. He went to Russia. They gave him over $300 million, and they basically blackmailed him and said, "Hey, you got to, here's what you can
Gotcha.
do for us. You want this money? Here's what you're going to do for us." And so they ran him for president. He saw how they fucking got into our elections, got corrupted Zuckerberg, corrupted Twitter, and basically did to us what we've been doing to other countries for decades, and that was destabilizing us.
Yeah.
Russia destabilized us, and we have not, or will we recover? This virus was the perfect spark to destabilize us. Now we had division. I mean, it was already starting with Obama. I mean, you go back to the political rallies when they were running for office, you could already see it was already being planted.
Yeah.
Obama never even got so much of a whisper of a chance against Republicans. He never had a chance to do anything. He came into office, he was already defeated before he got there because of the right wing's bigoted and racist. They didn't want a black man for president anymore. They wanted a woman for president, so they didn't vote for him. I mean, they voted against him. They worked against him. They did all sorts of things to hurt this country, including taking away his right to nominate a Supreme Court justice, which now
man.
the fallout now of that one decision is here. It is over 6 years later, and we're seeing the fallout of that denial of that one justice. Yeah. Now we have a lot of all these right wingers are complaining about my freedoms. Well, we're seeing their freedoms being eroded away underneath the Supreme Court. They're taking away all the women's rights.
Yep.
They're taking every you're a woman, your rights are being taken away from you. You think not being vaxxed or being vaxxed or not wearing a mask is bad, but you're losing more than that. You're losing more than that.
It's very true.
So that is why this country is destabilized. That's why we can't get back to doing good things together. We can't go out and have a good concert. We can't do any of those things anymore because people just won't. If they would have been handled rightly, if Trump actually would have said, listen, I'm wearing a mask. I'm going to take a shot. Okay. Or I'm going to develop everything we can to get a vaccine. If I led by example, we wouldn't have nearly what we have now. But he was an evil man anyway. So we had no chance.
That's a mess.
Yeah, I mean, I watched all the clubs close. I've seen all the clubs are closing. Detroit doesn't have very many live venues anymore. I saw that Slim's closed. I was like, I was sad. I think Bottom of the Hill's still kicking.
Bottom of the Hill's still going. Yep.
I read an article.
Great American Music Hall is still going. I haven't been back there yet. That's always my favorite, and I haven't been back since everything opened. But I'm planning on it eventually.
I wonder if Yoshi, and you said Yoshi's is still going.
Yoshi's is still going. I was like I say, I was very disappointed in the way they were handling it, but
I think Hotel Utah it got knocked down though, didn't it?
Oh yeah, I haven't heard anything about them at all. Loved that little place. That place.
Me too. San Jose had remember the Caravan that I got caught up in a fire.
Ooh.
Yeah, there was a fire there, and I think they're supposed to be coming back. But the Caravan, oh my gosh, what a hoot that was.
Little dive place, but man, had a great rip, man.
It did. I don't know. That is the smallest venue I've ever seen.
Yeah.
I think
Fuel was pretty small too there, though, around the corner from Caravan.
Yeah, but Fuel at least you could put like 150 in there. I mean, the Caravan, you'd be lucky to fit in the band and the roadie.
I love it. I love it. That's what you call intimate, man.
We had what do they call it now? I know they don't call it the usual, but where the FX is still there, they're still Corey's still there.
The Ritz. Now,
yeah,
right?
the Ritz.
Yeah, Ritz. Yeah. I
I
never really liked that room. I don't know what it is about that room, but I never went crazy over that room.
It was.
I don't know what it was.
Just the way it was. I don't know, because it had all the tilts.
Yeah, maybe that was it. If you were drunk, you'd fall off the stairs down onto the dance floor. And I'm not saying I did that ever, but you could,
Oh yeah, that did happen. That did happen. People did fall down the stairs.
I can imagine. It was in the dark, man. They didn't even have it lit.
Thanks for coming out, Dennis. Yeah, I had Phil Maresca on. And me and Phil were talking about the old days, and he was talking about some of the stories of the FX, and that was
crazy.
That was a lot of good shows there. I mean,
I saw a lot. Even though I didn't particularly like the room, I went to a lot of shows. Up until my last show that I went to before the pandemic was Willie Nelson's son, Micah Nelson, has a band called Particle Kid. He played the Ritz to 15 people. I mean, seriously, everything was starting to shut down. And I was like, I like this kid. I'm going to go see him. And I went up to the Ritz that night, and there were 15 people there, and it was a great show. But that was the last one before everything shut down.
15 people. Ouch.
That wasn't good.
No, I told this story before. I don't know if you know this story, but I actually got my job because of it over at the Edge. I was there. I got asked I was doing the agenda on Tuesdays, and then Yasik asked me to interview at the Edge. So I went up to the Edge, and I was like, all right, I'm here at the Edge, and there was a rockabilly guy over there. Was it Ronnie Dawson? I think it was.
Yeah.
And so I got up there, and he was going to play, and I was like, all right, everybody's like, it's going to be a great show or whatnot. No, not at all. It was like 36 people there, and I got the job because of that.
Wow.
Because I was, we were all there watching it. It was terrible. It was. I felt so bad because he deserved so much better.
Yeah.
The room was cut in half. Because there's no way we're putting 1,000 people in there. But then we could have dropped it into a quarter. Still would have. But they were so nice to us. They were so nice to us. They were grateful and thankful and everything else. But I've seen shows where there's been like that. That's terrible.
But if you go to a show like that, and that artist performs for 15 people, that just always blows me away. I mean, that night when I saw Micah, I was just like, holy crap, this guy's got his dad's genes, because he pulled off this fucking show for 15 people like it was full, and it was impressive. And you just go, man, that's professionalism.
That's skills. That's just nothing but skills. I mean,
because you could get, I think you would get totally dejected, like crap,
Yeah. You've been to a few shows at Marsuki's. Not every show we ever had over there was a winner. We had a lot of shows where we had less than half of people in there. It was always a dogfight to book that place. To draw. It was like, you had to fight tooth and nail for that place. And of course, we wouldn't have gotten where we got without without your support.
I loved
College,
that
college
room. That
radio.
room was my favorite, man. I just loved going there all the time. And like I say, we gave away so many ticket giveaways from Marsugis in those days. It was I would try to book as many ticket giveaways as I could for that place.
It was awesome. It's like college radio back then was so much more supportive of live music, especially independent live music.
Right.
Now it's so corporate, even at the college radio station.
We live in a different world now, man. I mean, everything's different like that. It's not the same type of thing. The internet now is the promotion tool of choice for everybody. It seems like,
Yeah. I mean, even for radio stations.
Yeah.
So what station are you working for right now?
I don't work for anybody.
Oh, really? Okay.
I am just Cabaret Radio is a pirate Zoom radio show. Happens Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday nights from 7 to 10, and we just play music. Every night's a different concept in general. That's what I do. I do concepts. So the last 2 nights, Friday and Monday night, one of Cabaret Radio's listeners is M. Dung's ex-partner. So she's an old friend of mine. And so we had a Cabaret get together a few weeks ago, and she brought 2 anvil cases of 45s over to my house. And I went, "What is this?" And she goes, That's M's 45 collection. Would you like to look through it? And I was like, "Are you kidding me?
Wow.
She goes, "I'm going to stay in a hotel tonight, and I'll come pick them up in the morning." So the people leave, and here's Mick in front of the turntable till 3:00 in the morning, listening to M. Dung's 45s. Like, I feel like I got him over my shoulder there going, "Ow, away, man." I mean, it was like I'm listening to one of the greatest Bay Area DJs in the history of radio, his record collection. So what I did is I just wrote down freaking every 45 that was in there that I thought was really cool, put 2 4-hour shows together, and we called it M. Dung's 45 collection, and that's what we did for the last 2 shows. So it's like, that's the kind of things that we do on Cabaret Radio. One night it'll be, it's Tom Waits' birthday. Okay, tonight 4 hours of Tom Waits. It's maybe, I think tomorrow night I'll do just a Christmas show, all Christmas music, So it goes. That's what we do. Always, in general, concept shows, and then on a Friday night, sometimes we do all requests, where everybody just throws songs at me and I play for them.
My friend Casey's mentioning. He says, "I've never heard of an unsigned band on a college radio station." Yeah, that ages us both, Mick, doesn't it? Because back when me and Mick were kicking it back in the 90s, that's all we ever had was unsigned bands.
Yep.
It was the commercial radio stations that never played any local band. They would play maybe local music on for an hour, like at 2:00 on a Sunday morning.
Mm-hmm.
The
one
worst
little local show, yeah.
Right. Yeah, that was it.
And all the college and all the all the commercial radio stations just listened to the college radio stations to find out what was breaking there. If something broke there, then they got into the playlist on the commercial.
Well, that's how Smash Mouth got it. Remember, that's how Smash Mouth, they got picked up by was it KOME? Yeah, KOME. That they picked them up and made a star out of Carson Daly and Smash Mouth. So it was like, but they wouldn't. It's funny because I was mentioning about Barbara Manning. Is I went down, I grabbed a couple of her records, and because I was going to do a show with her. So I went down there to see if I could get them to play her music on the radio, because I'm going like, listen, if they're playing Jewel on the radio, then they sure as fucking could play Barbara Manning on there, right? So I go on down there and I have a couple records, and I go in there and they're going like, I said, yeah, I'd like to talk to the program director, and so I didn't say no. I just sort of like, like you're going like, are you with anybody? I'm going like, yes, but I didn't exactly say who I was with. It was not my fault. They thought maybe I was with Matador Records. I don't know how that happened, but so I walked in his office and I sat down there, and then I had a very polite discussion with going like, you're playing Jewel. I'd like for you to consider playing Barbara Manning. Here's a couple of her records. I think, that, and this is, wow, she's really good. It's just, we get our, he spent an hour with me. He spent an
Wow.
hour with me, and then he says, and I just happened to mention that, well, it would be really awesome because, I've got her playing at Marsugi's, for the Sofa Street Fair. And all of a sudden, his face says, "Wait a minute, you're from where?" And going, "From Marsugi's downtown San Jose." And he goes, "I thought you were with an A&R guy with Matador." And I'm like, no one said that. No.
That was a pretty slick move there, dude.
Yeah, I'm just sitting there. Well, yeah, I got a whole hour, and the guy was sitting me to explain commercial radio work and everything else, and I'm like, okay, so you still can't play her? Because I was frustrated the hell out of me.
Jeez, man.
It frustrated me because like you saw this. You probably saw this a lot more than I did. If I asked you to make 20 bands that should have gotten a shot out of San Jose, I'm sure you'd come up with 20 in a heartbeat.
Yeah, I mean, there's a million of them. I mean, San Jose was it was just the worst place to try to make it in the music industry. San Jose was just you could have a better luck if you just went 20 miles over the hill of Santa Cruz or 50 miles north to San Francisco, but don't try to make it in San Jose.
It was
two bands ever got out, or I don't know, with a few.
No, because it was frustrating because we had two radio stations. We had KSJO and we had KLME, and we had two commercial radio stations, and we had no. I mean, other than the Cabaret and oh my God, the Cabaret. Oh my God! I actually went to there once. I went there once.
I was there a lot.
Oh, did you really? Oh, God.
Blue Oyster Cult shows. I've always been a Blue Oyster Cult fan my whole life, so they would come through there.
They would come through. We did Blue Oyster Cult The Edge. That was fun.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. I got to book the opener there, so that was a lot of fun. And but Cabaret. Oh my God! You look at your schedule. It's like, how many times could they fit Johnny Winter in there, or a Golden Earring, or a 38 Special? It's like, holy shit! Every month it's the same old tired bands.
Crazy, man. Crazy.
Yeah, Blue Oyster Cult rocks. And yes,
still going strong. Still going. We had Eric Bloom on the show on KMEC Radio. Maybe 6 months ago. He's just a gem of a guy.
Yeah, they're really nice guys.
Their newest record is phenomenal.
Really?
Oh, it's so good, so good.
I love them. I thought, of course, the only song I wanted to hear them sing, and they did, was Godzilla.
Or Burning for You. That was the other one.
Everybody said Burning for You, but I was always picking Godzilla.
Burning for You is my favorite of their hits. Of course, Don't Fear the Reaper, of course, gets just so overplayed everywhere all the time. But I mean, you have to admit that song is a well put together little gem. I mean, it really is beautiful. But man, when you've heard it 3 million times, I feel sorry for those guys. They have to do it every night.
It's fun. I tell you what's funny. Now, you probably know this when talking to some of the bands, because you interviewed a lot of bands at KSJS. It was funny. I remember we had the Wallflowers coming in the Edge, right? Mm-hmm. And Jacob Dylan was coming in, and oh my gosh, they were on the tail end of the tour, and they were tired, and they could see the finish line ahead of them. They had maybe 4 or 5 more dates. Now he was touring on that on one headlight. Most of the time, that record had a ton of hits.
Yeah,
that record smokes.
It was a big one. Yeah, they have something new too. That's good.
Yeah, I heard and I saw he dropped a new record. It's funny, Mick. It's funny. It's like I have not listened to commercial radio since I moved here.
Well, I don't listen to it either, but I listen to a lot of I'm constantly jumping around. I'm one of those guys that I really like to hear new stuff. I mean, I love all the old music. I love everything. I love everything in music, but I love that feeling when you get the hairs stand up in the back of your neck when you've heard something brand new, And so I subscribe to Sirius. And you can hear a lot of shit. You have to pay for it, but I mean, you hear a lot of new stuff, a lot of the breaking stuff on there now. So
I do that on Spotify. I've done that now. I actually
Spotify's good for that too.
I found an art. I just type in like new artists, and
Yeah,
and they'll just come out with a ton of people I've never heard of, never heard them at all,
right.
and then I'll start listening and to see what I like or don't like. I need to do that a little bit more.
So it's
Most
a
of the
lot.
time,
It's a lot. It can be a lot of time consuming work going weeding through it because there's so much. But hey, that's what I
I
love. I loved it.
I listen. I type. I do my writing, like I do the show or do writing or whatnot, and I'll type in scores from movie scores, and or but I have a list of bands that I've listened to, and it's a lot of fun. And KC says for Blue Oyster Cult, Flaming Telepaths or Joan Crawford for him.
Yeah, Joan Crawford has risen from the grave. That's one of my favorites too. I've been
Yeah.
into them since I was 16 years old. Love those guys.
Wow.
They're a great
Joan.
band, man. What? My first concert, first concert, Dan the Green, with Blue Oyster Cult, Jay Giles Band, Mahogany Rush, Sammy Hagar. First Sammy Hagar concert, or one of the first shows after Montrose breaks up. And that was a cool day on the green, man.
Yeah, Day of the Green. That was the one show that the Chronicle sponsored, right?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, they did them at the
Chronicle
Oakland
sponsored.
Coliseum. Did about
Yeah,
did them every summer for years and
every
years. They did
summer.
Day of the
But
Greens.
yeah, it was a massive show.
Oh,
Uh,
gigantic.
then I was gonna say, what was I gonna say? I lost my thought there.
We got sidetracked by Blue Oyster Cult.
Yeah. Oh, the new Spotify.
Oh.
Yeah. So I type in some new artists from Spotify. I've been doing that a little bit more lately, which is cool because I haven't done that in a long time.
It is. I mean, I run Cabaret Radio off of Spotify, and I know artists just hate. If you talk to musicians, they fucking hate Spotify because they rip them off. They don't give artists anything.
No.
And it's not right, man. Spotify
No.
has got to turn around. They're making millions. They got to give the artists money. It's crazy.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't, I just don't understand it because also, as Amazon's doing that shit now too.
Yeah.
It used to be Amazon used to pay independent filmmakers money for their content because they didn't have that much content. And so they would sit there and say, submit your movie to us. And they, if you watched it, people were watching it, they got paid like a nickel a minute, or something like that, that are making some coin. Now I think it's actually less than a penny. And you have to watch. They have to watch at least half your movie for to qualify. So if someone tunes in an Amazon movie and they only watch 20 minutes of it and they turn it off, the filmmaker gets zero. Doesn't get a view, doesn't get credit for a watch, and doesn't make any money off of it. It's horrendous. No, it isn't right. But then again, it's always been that way.
One way or another, the artist is getting ripped off. But I mean, the artist used to be able to make money at selling a CD or a record, and now people don't buy that. I mean, sure, okay, we're having a resurgence of vinyl. Vinyl's starting to come back, and it's doing good for people. It's selling more than CDs now, I think.
Yeah.
CDs are a dead thing. I think CDs will die, because most people will just take Spotify. They don't need to. Most people don't want to even own a physical thing anymore. They say it takes up room. I'm from an era where I have my 4,000 LPs out there, and they're my prize. But I care about them, but people don't. And it's like, how is somebody supposed to make money? The only way they make money now is going out on the road, and you can't even do that right now, really. I mean,
not only can you go on the road, but you can't even build up a library. No. Before you could release a record and you go out as an opener or main support for a tour, and then you do that, and then you come back and you make another record, and then you go as a main support for a bigger band, or then you play smaller rooms in off cities as a headliner, and then when radio's playing your stuff and whatnot. By the third record you came out, you would actually have enough hits by that time that or inventory, like you have like between 35 to 40 songs you could draw upon for a tour, and you could actually go on tour and do well, make money off your merch or whatnot. But now it's like a circle. It's like back in the 50s and 60s, they used to have like 10 bands jump on buses, and they go down to churches and schools and everything. And they play that one hit, that 45 single. That's what they used to play on. They used to tour on those, here it is, Little Rita with, Shock Me Mama.
Exactly.
And you get out there and play that one record and then go on to the next one. It's back to that cycle.
It's one song artist now. You make a song, and that's when somebody goes on Spotify, they just listen to that song. They're not listening to a whole album worth of that music from that person.
No, and the artist cannot tour. You cannot tour. You cannot get major. You can't tour on as far as a label support. You can't get any support from a label for a one-trick pony.
Yeah, and what labels? I mean, labels just sit back and watch the internet numbers, and if the only people they're signing are the people with 3 bazillion internet hits, So
right.
Oh man.
Wow. Now my question is my question is this is something I've been. It's funny because I didn't know these certain things, right? Like I didn't realize that so many of you guys had hidden talents. Chris Buchholz was
Chris.
Chris Buchholz. He wrote for Bam magazine. I had no idea he was a World War II historian.
Right. Yeah. Oh yeah. He's a model builder, man. That's his obsession, is building airplanes. He's an aviation airplane model builder. He's I
had him on the show. And like I was saying how I did not realize that you did that. I didn't know that. Like you had a hidden talent, and World War II buff and whatnot. And then of course, you imagine my surprise when I turn around and find out that my good friend Mick Gray, who was worked at KSJS, is now a world famous artist who works for Marvel and DC. And it's just very
weird. It's very weird. If you want the story behind it, I was in 1976. My dad was working next to a small little electronics firm. It wasn't called Silicon Valley then. It was just, there was an electronics company next to him. And the guys said, hey, I need somebody to draw schematics and mechanical design and stuff. And my dad was a great salesman. He'd go, oh, my 16-year-old son is taking regional occupational programs in high school. He knows how to do all that stuff. We'll send him down here. So I go down to this little company, Candela Electronics, and they hire me to do everything. I become their graphics guy and their drafts person and their illustrator, and they work me through high school and through community college over at Mission College in Santa Clara, and I get an AS degree in technical illustration. So I'm the guy that draws the 2 fingers pushing the card into the board or whatever in the manual, that kind of stuff. So I did that, and then this company went under, and I started a company, my own little illustration company called Draft Technics, and I took all the people that I met at Candela, and I took them on as clients, and I started doing illustration on my own at home, which was just tough because I had to be a salesman and go out there and cold call companies and things like that. But I survived it. And at one point, my high school buddy comes over to me and he goes, hey, you know what? There's a comic book store down on Bascom, and he has a company, Slave Labor Graphics, and he's starting to make comics. And I bet you he could use somebody that could draw cars and buildings and stuff like you do. And I was like, well, that's cool. I've always loved comics, but you think he'd pay me to do that? And he goes, I don't know. Go down and show him your portfolio. And so I bring down this gigantic technical illustration portfolio to Dan Votto at Slave Labor Graphics. And this is what I do. I do all this technical illustration. And he goes, oh man, would you be willing to do backgrounds for some books? And I was like, yeah, I guess so. He goes, well, I'll pay you, $15-20 a page or whatever to finish off backgrounds. So I start working for him, and it's just a snowball from there. That was 1989, and it just, one thing leads to another. Dan Votto sells his book to the Griffin, sells it to DC Comics, and then they hire a new inker on to ink the new version. And that guy calls me from 3,000 miles away and says, would you be willing to do backgrounds? And I'm like, how would we do that? He goes, I'm going to send you pages in FedEx every day. You'll get pages and you finish them, and then you send them into the office in New York. If that's the way you do it, okay. So for 30 years until computers and scanning came in, I was getting a box every day in the mail, finishing off the page, over my working with Mark McKenna at the time, and he'd do the figures and I'd do all the backgrounds I did that for about 8 years, something like that. And then send them to New York. And so that was a great tool to meet editors. And so I would be the last guy. I'd finish the page off. Hi, so-and-so, this is Mick. I'm working for Mark. Got the pages done and I'm sending them in to you tomorrow. Great, fantastic. So I'd meet all these editors. So then one thing leads to another, and an editor goes, hey, we need full inks on these pages done. And they need to be done by Monday. I'm calling you on Friday. I'm going to send you the pages overnight. They need to be done by Monday. So that's how I got my first gigs at Marvel. The first pages I ever inked were, I think it was Punisher 50.
Wow.
Inked
Punisher the Punisher number 50?
I think it was the first book I worked on for Marvel. And I did 3 pages and I was just scared out of my head. I didn't even know who the penciler was. I can't remember to this day who it was. And I wasn't comfortable with it. Confidence is in doing any kind of art is like the ultimate thing. If you're confident with the lines you're putting down, then it shows and you feel good and it looks good. But if you're not, forget it. So it took me a long time to get to the point of being comfortable and confident with it, and worked with Mark McKenna for years. Started picking up other guys that I could assist them. Maybe at one point I'm assisting 4 or 5 different inkers. Randy, I ghost inked on Randy Amberlin's run on Amazing Spider-Man. Probably 10 or 20 issues of Amazing Spider-Man. If you see Randy Amberlin's name on it, I'm doing all the background stuff, the buildings and cars and stuff like that. So
now does he do the heroes themselves? Does he do the fight act? Does he do the fight scenes, and then you come in afterwards and you draw the back and you do the
at that time, basically what I have always done is I am just an inker. So let's say, let me just show you.
What is? I mean, I tossed that term out, but is it inker just another term for artists?
No, here's the pencils. Here's some. This is a page that I'm very, very honored that I got to work on. This is a Jack Kirby pencils at the end of his life. This is when Jack was really not doing very good, about 1990, right before he died. And he's working for a guy that I meet at that time by the name of Michael Thibodeau. Michael Thibodeau was Jack's assistant at the end of his life. And so instead of getting paid, Michael Thibodeau goes, hey, would you just help me design my universe? Can you imagine asking Jack Kirby to help you design your universe? So anyways, this is Kirby at the end of his life. And he probably, we don't know for sure, but he probably was using a studio of helpers that were helping him do stuff here too. This is like, not great Jack Kirby stuff here. This is the end of his life here. So he did this with pencil, and then I take it from that point and I finish it off. So here's the finished page of my inks. And an inker takes brushes, quills, pens, anything, sponges. If I want to get a texture, I'll use anything I can use to gain a special texture or a special line, and you finish the page off.
So when I'm looking at the picture, I'm looking at with the gentleman. I don't know if that's Darkfire or not. So
this is not a Marvel book. This was an like I say, Kirby helped Michael Thibodeau just originate a completely new universe, all new characters. This was a book called Phantom Force on a little company called Genesis West back in about 1990, something like that. Jack Kirby dies within a year or two of that. But so as an inker, it's basically trying to capture a style of a penciler. A penciler puts down the style. A penciler puts down the look he wants. And if I just go on it, I could be hired as an inker to go, an editor could go to me and go, you know what? We really don't like this guy's style. Could you put something else into it? Well, I could do that. That's not what I do very well. I don't put me into stuff. I always try to capture the look of a penciler so that I get that phone call the next day and it's the penciler. And he goes, that's exactly what I was looking for. You nailed it. And then I'm happy. Penciler's happy. I'm happy. I get another job out of that. That's what that's all about.
So
So that's
pencil,
all.
so,
That's
so
all I've ever
pencil
done. For 35 years, that's all I've ever done. I've never penciled a book. I've always just been a specialist, an inker.
so the inker comes in and puts all the details into the pencil drawing.
Right.
So you
And
feel,
then in ink, I finish it so that that's the line that gets colored to. So the colorist is the next step, and he's the guy that takes it and lays in all the colors and stuff like that. The toward the end of my career, I kind of always think that I'm done, but I'm still working. I'm still working in comics right now. But I lately I haven't been. I just moved, and I'm kind of think of myself as semi-retired right now. But I know there's more stuff coming down the pike here. But for years now, I'm the last guy that touches a page by hand. I come in and I put those brush lines down. I scan that page, and it goes to the computer, into the computer world, and it goes over to the colorist and the letterer, and there's never any more touching the page. I have it in hand. I finished the page. So
that's amazing, though. I find it amazing that that it was all done by FedEx.
That was the weirdest thing in the world, because we inked directly onto pencils. So for 50 years, inkers would get a penciled page in the mail, FedEx or whatever, maybe just handed to the guy in the next studio or whatever. And we would take pens and ink and brushes and cover the pencils with our ink. Then computers come along, and they go, and everybody goes, you don't need to do that anymore. We don't need to send it, because now I can just scan the page and you can just ink over a copy of it, so that the penciler can keep his penciled copy of his penciled original, and I can keep my inked original, So comics changed a lot when technology came about. And then, of course, computers put letterers out of business. There's barely any hand lettered comic books anymore. It's just all fonts that are in the computer. Comic books changed the coloring of comic books. I mean, the computers changed the coloring thing because everybody became digital colors, and that can be scary because there's so much you can do. You can get completely. If you remember comics in the 90s, I'm sure you do, when all the flares and everything, computer generated colors were just like, we have so much to do, we can go crazy. Let's use it all on one comic. But now colorists go, okay, we understand that we have it all, but we don't have to use it all on every book, so it's a little bit laid back now.
The status of comic books these days, I mean, wow, it's really changed, hasn't it?
It's funny, it's like it's more about isn't the new Spider-Man movie just so cool? But most of the people that go see the Spider-Man movies do not read Spider-Man comics. It's like it became these iconic figures, and it's probably what the companies want. I mean, if you think about it, but none of the big corporations ever cared about comics. That was like maybe back in the 30s and 40s they were making some money on them, but then after that it was just like, geez, this comic thing is really, we got to keep it around because it keeps all these characters in. It's in our priority. We own it still. If we don't publish Spider-Man, maybe we'll lose the rights to Spider-Man. So keep on publishing it. But because now.
Oh my gosh! I mean, when we were back there, when we were collecting comics when we were out there collecting comics, man, I mean, it was just so different. It was just what we saw on TV or the films, like watching Superman, Christopher Reeve Superman, or the old Shazam series, the ISIS series. You watch the live action, and you're going like, how come they could ever do this on the movies? And then you got a little bit of hope when you first saw Superman, and then just when you got a little bit of hope, then all of a sudden you come out with that Spider-Man TV series, and you're going like, oh shit.
Oh, there were some bad TV series, yes.
Oh, the bad. I mean, people don't get it. I mean, people sit there and they look at the Incredible Hulk with nostalgia, and you're like, oh my god! If you read the comic books like we did, I mean, the TV show was just so it's so bad.
It's hilarious.
It was never once where he looked at the Hulk and was amazed. It was just like, oh, it was just like, you watched him for the Hulk out. He Hulk out about the 30-minute mark. Then he Hulk out again about the 45-minute mark. And everybody's like, my brothers used to watch that shit and they used to love it. Me, I used to sit there and just cringe.
Like,
and then the Superman 2 came out. Then you got a little bit of hope again. You got a little bit of hope.
Yeah,
and then
and the Batman franchise went along pretty good for a while. I think I don't know what the next one's going to be like. This new one with Robert Pattinson. Yeah, some of the trailers look kind of good. I'm not sure. I won't make my decision until I see it.
I will tell you right now. I mean, I watched the MCU. I watched that, and it's so funny. It's like you watch that. You got the casuals. You got the people who don't know the books. Like you're right. They don't know the Iron. They don't know the Iron Man book. They don't know, they don't, they see Iron Man and then they go like, oh, wow, that's Iron Man. Okay, I know about him. And it's like, no, not really. You don't know anything. It's like, their secret identity and everything else. And the character struggled and everything else. But like, I don't mind that, so to speak, but the one series the one comic book movie I just shake my head at was the Guardians of the Galaxy.
Oh yeah.
Oh Nick.
Well, I mean,
it's like save me.
That's the whole thing. If you got into those books and then you try to understand what Hollywood does with it, it's a completely different animal usually. It has nothing to do with the comic book. They take this basic premise and they go, we can do this so much better than they could. And they got to change everything and they got to do this and that. I mean, I don't know. It's not much. The only thing you could say really good for comics about movies is it usually picks up sales a little bit for those poor little retailers that are trying to sell and keep the comic book industry alive. Those retail stores that are like, okay, now we got a new Avengers movie, so we're going to sell a bit more maybe, and isn't it shocking that it has not done that? It's like when most of the time when something like that happens, like a Harry Potter movie came out, or the Lord of the Rings, right? Those movies came out and those books moved. Yeah.
I mean, shut up and go. I mean, I've been to Barnes and Noble and whatnot, where they had lines out the door for the next Harry Potter book or the Hunger Games or stuff like that, and people were excited to see it. But then you turn around and then you see comics and you're going like, all right, here comes the Guardians of the Galaxy or Spider-Man, and you would think that, hell yes, I'm going to sell 30,000 copies. I'm going to sell. This day the retailer says I got 600 copies of this. I'm going to sell them all, and they don't sell that much.
Yeah, it's definitely changed.
I definitely think though, honestly, but that's not the movie's fault. It's the comic book's fault. It's the house's fault.
Well, I mean, the comic book companies a lot of the time try to do movie adaptions. So they'll put a book out that's like, this is the comic book adaption of Guardians of the Galaxy, let's say, or whatever. Does that help? I don't know.
It's just like, I mean, we and my buddy Catfish, we used to talk hours on this, and the comics as we know it, they have changed so much and not necessarily for the better.
Yeah.
I think retconning has just ruined the industry.
Yeah.
If you ask me, my number one reason why comic books struggle today is the retconning. Yeah. It absolutely has destroyed it. It's
different. I mean, I just did a little bit of work for a company called Interpop. Interpop is a small, relatively new comic book company doing digital comics, giving them away right now. I mean, you can go to interpop.com and read books, that are, and this is, I got to work with Scott McDaniel, known for a lot of his Batman stuff. He's a great penciler, wonderful. So I got to work on this. This is a book called The Nine, and the main character in the middle, Billy Stopless. This was a little short story that was in the book. about him. But this is some great art. Like I say, Scott McDaniel did a lot of work for DC and Marvel too, I think, and really great. And I had fun doing it. And you can actually go to Interpop and read books and stuff digitally. Now,
inkers do. You work hard. I'm looking at that. I'm looking at that and I'm like, man, you bust your ass.
It's a lot of work.
You do all the heavy lifting, don't you? Inkers do all the heavy lifting.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's like if you look and see what the inker does, it's kind of the skeleton. It's what holds everything together. It's that black line that they can work to. They can take that black line, the colorist, and hold it and change it to color and do whatever they want with it. But we have put it down so that they can see it good. And also, another thing the inker does is add depth a lot of the time. We think about 3 dimensions, foreground, middle ground, background. Background lines are fine. Middle ground lines are a little thicker, and foreground stuff's thicker, right? So you give the colorist some clues on how to color it by doing that kind of thing. So yeah, it's an important step. And like I say, being a specialist, I'm called because I know how to handle those tools and how to get that kind of line work so that the colorist knows what's going on. And like I say, you can keep the penciler happy too.
What was your favorite book that you worked on?
Oh, there's 35 years. 35 years I've done this. The important ones are the Joker graphic novel. That was a huge one. I got it here. I actually have a page from that here. This book was Brian Azzarello and Lee Bermejo was the penciler, the artist on this. And what you're looking at, that top panel there with the bat signal, that's Lee, all Lee. He would go in and just do like side of the pencil tones and watercolor washes. And I'd get the page with that panel done. And then you can see the second panel here is all black ink. So you see the black ink is darker than what's happening up here.
You see the dark ink as far as on the bat signal itself? Yes.
Yeah. So now up here, this is all Lee. He's finished that page and he sent me this. This will be all in pencils. And then I'd have to okay, now I'm going to take his pencils, bring it to a finished place with it there. So this book came out right after Heath Ledger did the Batman Joker in the movie, and then he killed himself.
Right.
And it was a really sad situation because we had done the book. The book was pretty much done before the movie came out. And we are pretty sure, it's never been confirmed, but we're pretty sure that the director saw Lee Bermejo's character studies of the Joker, and that's where he got that ripped, scarred smile for the Joker in that movie. And so the movie comes out, Ledger kills himself, and then our book comes out. And it can't stop selling. The book sells forever. It sells today. I still get a check in the mail. Not like when I first finished the book, but I mean, it is one of the biggest selling books in DC Comics history. It's still in hardbound. It sold maybe 400,000 copies, something like that. And so this was a really big book. Now, this book is very graphic and it's very adult. And I've always kind of felt I didn't really want to work on that kind of stuff, that's that intensely graphic. But I can't, I inked 100 pages of the damn book and I still get royalties off of it. So I can't really complain too much, It's just
not at all.
I've come to a place now where I go, okay, it's an important book in my comic book career, and I just go along with it. So that was the biggest selling one. I did a book with Alan Moore and J.H. Williams called Promethea. It was 32 issues. And that is probably the most creative, fulfilling thing I ever worked on, because that book is an amazing story. And it's very, very spiritual and ethereal. And if you know anything about Alan Moore, he's into magic. And Alan Moore is kind of our Stan Lee of our generation. You know, Stan was
Let's
first, but
talk
then
about. I mean,
Alan.
let's talk about Alan Moore for a minute because he actually. I mean, I love his work. I
Yeah,
do. I
brilliant,
do.
brilliant mind. You know,
I don't understand his attitude though. It's like he drives me bonkers.
well, he's an eccentric.
Is okay? That's what they call rich people. Okay, if he was me, he'd be just fucking weird.
He
So
would, yeah, he
let's just
wouldn't be
call him.
he wouldn't be
Let's
doing
call
the
him.
financial moves that he has done over the of his career
But
if he
okay, but
was.
here's my point though is like he creates his comic books, right? And then people come up to him and they say, "We'd like to buy the rights to your comic books," and he says, "Okay," and then they turn around and then they don't necessarily do what he thinks it is, and he sits and he cries in a little corner. He acts like a little bitch, and it's just like, dude, if you didn't want your shit out there, why are you selling it? Don't
Well,
sell it.
I mean,
It's like,
there was a lot of weird things that happened with Alan Moore. You know, I mean, Promethea alone, um, he was he decided that he was going to do that for a little company called Wildstorm, and he signed a contract to start doing these books called America's Best Comics. He was going to do a whole line, Promethea being one in the line. And he said, "This is going to be great. This little company is going to treat me right." He had just left DC Comics. He said, "Fuck you guys. You guys are screwing me over." So he left there.
what is that? But okay, how do they screw him over? I mean, can you explain that? I mean,
I won't even go into what happened before. This story alone is just a gem in itself. So he goes, "I'm going to Wildstorm. I get this little company and they're gonna let me do whatever I want to do." So guess what happens next? DC Comics buys Wildstorm.
right.
So here's Alan Moore. Now, if you don't think about anything else that happens, wouldn't you be just so fucking pissed that you just signed a contract to do your own line of comics, and then the company that you just left buys you, and you have to work with them again?
Yeah, but I would think that he would have. I think they would have. You would thought his agent. He was going to be mad at anybody. He would have been mad at his agent for not putting that clause in there. Like, if you sell your company before, in 5 years, then I retain all rights to my work.
That's very true too. That maybe it's just a bad lawyer or a bad agent, like you said. But I mean, it happened, and Alan Moore, being the eccentric he is, he went. He just was pissed about it. But we went ahead and we did ABC Comics, and back to Promethea. But that subject matter of basically a muse that inspires writers. That's what Promethea really is at its basis. It is beautiful. It's a beautiful story, and we put our all into it. And that's basically Alan's favorite subject matter, is kind of magic, the Kabbalah, spiritualism, all that kind of stuff, So he really got into doing that.
Did you get to meet him or talk to him on the phone?
Talked to him a couple times, yeah. If I went to England in 19. I went to England in 2018 for my first and only trip to England. I was gonna try to get together with him, but it just didn't work out. But yeah, I've talked to him on the phone once or twice. I would love to sit down and have coffee with the guy. The guy is an unusual, interesting person, But no, I haven't.
I would sit there. I just like to shake his hand because he's created some crazy good characters.
Oh, Watchmen alone. Watchmen is one of them. Watchmen is one of the greatest comics ever conceived, and yeah, that's him. Pretty amazing.
Thank you, Katie.
And so that was the highlight, really. 32 issues working with J.H. Williams. J.H. Williams is like a director. I mean, and the way that Alan works in general is he goes, "Here is a script. It's 3 inches thick, and I'm giving it to you. I'm giving you everything you'll need. Do what you want with it. I have nothing to do with it. It is now yours." And so he's like a very unusual writer in that way. Whereas when you're working with writers in comics, they dictate what that penciler is going to do. But in Alan's case, it's very, I trust you, and I want you to put your vision onto the illustrations. Here's the story. Take it. And so that was very cool. And J.H. Williams did a fantastic job at that, taking it and doing an amazing job. So That was a big one.
How many issues did Promethea last?
That was 32 issues. We completed a storyline, and it's all available in hardbounds and trade paperbacks and absolute editions. They put it out in maybe 5 or 6 different editions now.
Wow.
The next big run was almost 60 issues with a guy by the name of Patrick Gleason. And me and Patrick started working together. We worked together 10 years. Me and JH worked together for 8 years, but with Patrick, it was my longest run. We went from Batman and Robin for how many, 40 issues, something like that. Then we jumped over and did a book called Robin, Son of Batman, which was a spin-off of Batman and Robin. The character Damian Wayne spun off into his own book. Did that for 10 years.
How'd you like the character?
That's a fantastic character. Some people disliked Damian because he was a little brat, but it was just so much fun working.
I love Damian.
Yeah, Damian's just great.
I love the character.
And then we spun off of that into the new version of Superman. So we did Superman for 10 issues, 10 or 15 issues, something like that. That's when
it's like doing characters like Batman and Superman. Did you find more joy in doing Promethea, or did you find more joy in doing, you already know Batman and Superman, sort of like
Batman is my favorite. Yeah, Batman's my favorite character ever. I mean, I just love Batman. But creatively was Promethea. Creative, we were able to do anything and go crazy with Promethea because it was Alan Moore, and you're working with Alan Moore. They let you do anything you want, And then when I started working with Patrick, it was really that situation of we're working on icons. To work on Batman and Superman, these are the icons of the industry. It's so it just every day, like I said, getting those hairs on the back of your neck stand up because you're working on comic book history. So to be part of that now is just the best thing that I can look back on. I mean, here's a few Patrick Gleason pages or covers. This is
I featured one of your covers for my promo. I put the cover.
Oh yeah, that's the Superman. Yeah, the Superman #1 that we worked on. This was Batman and Robin #20, and this is if you can kind of notice that it's Batman's head kind of ripping through Red Hood's helmet. So it's like kind of Red Hood, but Batman's ripping through the helmet. And you notice 2 guns, and guns are never associated with Batman. So when if you go into the comic book store or go online afterwards and just bring up Batman and Robin #20, and you'll see that those got edited out. They censored the guns right out of the art. So this is the original art. Yeah, it's not on the comic book cover whatsoever, which is kind of cool.
Why did they edit it? Why did they edit that?
They don't like Batman and guns. You don't put Batman and guns together. This was just a little short miniseries or something called Damian, Son of Batman. So it was like Damian, what if Damian's grown up and he becomes the Batman? And so it's a little bit different.
Let me ask you something, because you know these characters so intimately well. I'm just curious. How do you? Since he's your favorite character too, but what's your take on Batman? I mean, what do you think of the character? Yes,
he's a psycho. He's a complete psychopath, but he just has enough money and enough power that he can use it in the correct way. If you can go and say being a vigilante is the correct way to handle it, then I guess so. But
it's funny to see. We had this discussion, and it's like, especially after the second Batman movie came out, and we're sitting there, we're thinking about it, and we're talking, and it's just like it's like Batman. Is he everybody sees him as a superhero, and he's there to save the day and everything else. But if you really think about it, he really is not. He's really a villain.
Yeah, it's all vengeance. I mean, it's all he is. It's just
Well, it's
about
not only
vengeance.
vengeance; it's selfishness too. It's like,
Yeah.
okay, if you were really interested in saving lives and saving Gotham and saving everyone, you would have put a bullet in the Joker's head the second time you met him,
Yeah,
right?
the Joker can't exist without Batman, and Batman can't exist without the
Yeah.
Joker. So you can never kill the.
So it was like it was sort of funny because it's like, okay, so he keeps him around as a plaything almost, like it gives
Yeah.
him a purpose. Yet he's not saving lives at all. He's not a
Right.
lifesaver at all.
Right.
He's
Right.
he's a destroyer because you would think that, okay, the first time you met him and you arrested him and you look into Arkham, okay, the first pass is on him, but then you turn around and then you see what he's doing. Hi, Spotless, how are you? We are talking to comic book inker Mick Gray
Howdy.
for our guest. Welcome in, welcome in. So yeah, we were talking about that for a while, and it's just like Batman is not the hero that we've been led to believe.
Yeah,
Um,
it really isn't. Yeah, I mean, and when he
no,
works with other people, like right now, there's a brand new. They're going to do World's Finest again. They're going to do a new Batman Superman book again, and I always think to myself, that's just the silliest thing because Batman can't. This psychopath isn't going to be able to work with anybody. He's a lone wolf, man. Whenever they did, even in the old days when they did Batman and the Outsiders and things like that, it's just like, no, Batman can't work with anybody. He's a crazy man. He's going to do what he's going to do. It's hilarious.
it cracks me up is when they have Batman, like Batman versus Superman, right? And that just makes me laugh because it's like, why do they always insist that Batman would have a chance?
Oh yeah, that's goofy.
Superman really wanted. If Superman just, the Batman would never have a chance. He'd be dead in a second. It would take Superman to vaporize him.
Well, but now,
like
wait a minute, because Bruce Wayne is so damn rich. Did you ever see this? Hold on for a minute. Let me go get something.
How are you doing, Spotless?
This was a character that my penciler dreamt up and he was used to go to the apocalypse to get Damian back. Damian had been at one point taken by Darkseid, and so this is the Hellbat. And I mean, this was a crazy ass armor suit. It's like Iron Man. It's like Batman as Iron Man almost. But this is like one of those things where hey, Bruce Wayne can afford fucking anything, man. Put him in a suit like that, you can fight Spider-Man there, But this funny thing about the story behind this suit of the Hellbat is supposedly it was kept in the Justice League's satellite, and Batman couldn't get to it. It was so powerful and so really kick ass that they didn't want Batman to get any access to it. So the Justice League kept this armor in lockdown on the satellite. And the way Bruce Wayne gets it, because he knows he needs it, he's got to go into space. He sends all the heroes off on fake. We need you, emergency in Africa.
Right.
And they all leave. He goes to the satellite and gets the Hellbat. Pretty funny stuff, though.
Speaking of that, of Batman and the Darkseid and whatnot, did you? This is pretty much do you agree with this? That whereas Marvel owns the movies, DC owns the TV and animation.
DC, think about it. Has Marvel ever done anything cool animated?
No,
not really. But DC has freaking Batman animated series, one of the greatest ever, and you just see so much. And it is weird. I don't understand why DC, with all the Time Warner money in the world, why DC can't. And they'd want to if they could make a really good movie like Avengers or some of the Marvel Universe movies.
I don't get it. You know what I think it is? They cannot get past the 3. It really comes down to that. They cannot. Whereas Marvel, you look at Marvel. They have established so many different characters. Yeah. they've established all their characters. Every character that comes out there is doing well,
Yeah,
except the only one that
Marvel's
did
got it
not.
made.
Actually, the only one that did not do well, and it was only because it was rushed, was Inhumans.
Oh yeah, yeah, I've heard
That's
that.
the
Yeah,
only
I've heard
thing.
about it.
It's the only thing that everything that the Shield series. Oh God, yeah, that's a close second. That's a close second. That should have been so much better than what it was. I remember getting into a discussion with Clark Gregg on Twitter about this, and he was very generous with his time, and we talked about it for like 45 minutes on Twitter, back
Wow.
and forth. Yeah, it was awesome. It was awesome. We had people coming in and chipping in and everything else, and I was just like, man, you guys can make it so much better than what it is. And it's like, why don't you have more, like, they mentioned the Pegasus Project in the first episode. I fucking had a fanboy moment. I was geeking when I heard that. I'm like, oh, hell yeah. And then it just, then it was like by the end of there was only one arc that I liked, the Ghost Rider arc. I thought that was the only thing they ever did right. That's the only thing they ever did right.
Wow.
The rest of it was just a car crash for me.
Yeah, I mean, DC does pretty dang good with TV and animation. They do pretty good there.
Did you see Apocalypse? Do you see Apocalypse? Or Justice League Dark Apocalypse War? Now,
no, I haven't seen that one yet.
God, you haven't seen that yet.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, did you see Avengers Endgame or Avengers the Infinity War and Endgame?
Yeah, I've seen all the Marvel ones. Yeah.
Okay. I want you to do this. Watch Apocalypse War, then come back to me and tell me that just didn't absolutely fucking rule over the Avengers movies.
Wow. That's saying a lot.
It blew them out. It
Wow.
blew. I mean, I was watching Endgame, and I could not wait for it to end. It was so freaking bloated, and then it was just bloated as hell. 2.5 hours. I'm sitting there going, "Oh my God, just over with already." And the big final fight, the one that should have been lasting for the whole hour at least, like 15 minutes. It was just like, okay,
it is weird.
It is totally weird. I just don't. I personally don't get the love for the MCU like a lot of people do. I some of it I do like.
Yeah,
I do like some of it, but like for the most part, like the Guardians of the Galaxy, it drives me fucking bonkers. It drives me. I told my buddy, says, you know what? I mean, he almost saw this. In fact, he had to put his hand on my shoulder during the second Guardians when they went to the end credits and they had Sylvester Stallone there as a Starhawk. Oh my God, I was gonna fucking flip my mind, Mick. I was like,
but you gotta remember, you were a fan of the comic books.
Yeah.
That's not what these movies are made for. They're not made for fans of the comic book.
No.
They're made for the new people, the young new fans, So if you watch it from an angle of not ever seeing one of those comics before, it's a different angle.
You try to tell them, like, like you try to explain to them, like, why are you upset? It's like, because if you fucking read the book, you would understand. You would understand why it's so upsetting. It's like, but you sit there, and the thing is, though, it's like a lot of these folks don't. But you can't really blame them because it's like, well, Spider-Man's Miles Morales, and then Spider-Man's this, and then Spider-Man's that, and then they have a new Tony Stark. It's just like, oh my God, they retconned everything to freaking death. This is the new story of the Iron. Wait a minute, what happened to the old story? What's wrong with the old story?
This kind of stuff happens constantly and always. Have you seen the new?
Never like that when we were in the growing up. I mean, retconning wasn't going up.
But I mean, with movies and comics, this happens constantly, or even video games. Have you seen the new Netflix show Arcane?
No.
Go. Be sure you watch this. It's a little long. I think it's 8 hours long or something like that. But it's in installments. I know nothing about Arcane. It's from a video game. It's a game called Legion.
Katie's sitting here going like, she loves the Guardians of the Galaxy. Okay, Katie, please tell us your favorite original character from the Guardians. Who's your favorite original character? And which character did Who's your favorite? Who's your favorite character? In yeah, in the Guardians of the Galaxy. And you know what's funny too? It's what's really funny is I actually collected the Marvel premiere when they introduced Star Lord.
Oh wow,
I had that book. I had the Marvel premiere book.
you were deep into it, man.
Yeah,
I love all those characters. I'm with her, dude. I love the movies, you know, but I never read the books at all, you know.
Well, yeah, but I'm sure you've read the books by now, though. See?
No, I've never read any Guardians of the Galaxy ever.
What?
No, I've never read any of that ever.
Oh my God!
I've never been a Marvel fan at all, man.
But you've been more DC, right?
Yeah, I've always been DC. Ever since I was a kid, I was DC. And then like I say, when I broke into comics, I worked for Marvel.
I think DC. I mean, okay. I have not seen the Snyder Cut. I heard that they redeemed themselves.
That is really good. Watch that. The Snyder Cut of that movie made that movie totally watchable, and it was unwatchable before.
It was unwatchable. I mean, watching the Justice League is just absolutely just like
they were so stupid not to put the Snyder Cut out as is. It is beautiful and it is wonderful, and the story works and it makes sense, and the other one doesn't at all.
Okay, so Katie put down for her original character.
Rocket. I love Rocket too.
She put Rocket. Okay, now I see. Now here's the thing. See, I said original character. Rocket Raccoon was not an original character. You know who was? You know who was an original character? Yondu.
Oh, he's great. He's great.
Yeah, Yondu somehow got yacked out of the different time frame and got put into this movie. Now he's the original character. He's the original, and go back to Guardians of the Galaxy 2, and watch the very last end credit scene where they're pirates. Let's go, and Sylvester Stallone says, "Let's go steal some shit." I'm telling you, I was Alan Moore that moment. I was Alan.
Coming unglued.
Oh, my friend had to put his hand on my shoulder because I was ready to stand up and say, "Oh hell no," because it was awful. It was just it's like okay, Batman's your favorite character, right? Batman's now imagine if they played Batman in one of these DC movies. Now imagine if they played him as Adam West.
I enjoyed the Adam West TV show too. So
yeah, but no, I'm talking about them picking Adam West as Batman 66, and put him in a modern DC movie now.
Sounds fun. I don't know if it would work. I don't know if it would work, but it sounds fun.
Katie says she likes Star-Lord. Okay, Star-Lord was not a member of the Guardians of the Galaxy.
Really?
Actually, no, he was not. He was not a member of the Guardians of the Galaxy. And not only that, but his ship was alive. Him and his ship, that was the name of his ship, was called Ship. And they communicated.
Whoa.
See, that was, and they didn't even do that in the movie.
No, that would have been good to use.
I mean, the difference between the movies and the comic books is insane.
Going back to what I was just saying about this Arcane show, the same thing is happening right now between fans of that video game, Legion of Heroes. I can't remember what the name of the video game is, and this TV show Arcane, because the creators did not canon it. They did not make the two meet at all. So you got these two fan bases. Fans that love the video game, fans that love the TV show. They're going, no, it's wrong. They're like ready to have a war on each other. It's hilarious.
Well, I was like, I'm sitting there just watching this. I'm like, it was just so bloody awful. Yeah, see? See, Mr. Bone says, I don't read books and comics either. See, but you have to do that. See, it's called source material. This is like it's like if Batman was retconned as, like a playboy without losing his parents. He just happened to be just a guy at college and decided to become a Batman. He thought he wanted to become a superhero. It's you
have to do it specifically if you want to be as pissed off as Patrick is about this. Because if you want to be this pissed off, you have to read the comics and watch them.
Well, you can get away. You have to read the comic. It's like you have to do it because it's like, I mean, then you understand the characters a lot more and a lot better. I mean, you're sitting there watching it on the TV screen, you're going like, that's what am I watching?
That's wrong. But
Uh,
everybody else watches it and goes, "This is totally cool."
yeah, because they don't know they see what on TV and they think that's how it's supposed to be, and it's like
You know what's worse? You want me to really piss you off, Patrick? Now the movie's canon, not your comic book story. No.
yeah. Yeah. It's like it's
That's
fun
just wrong.
When they put Joker out, right? They put Joaquin Phoenix out as Joker, right?
Yeah.
Now that's the Joker in Gotham City.
Yeah.
That's the Joker.
That's the way he is now. That is him.
Would you accept him? That's a Joker.
Well, I loved that. I thought that guy did a freaking great job. Is he the Joker that we know? Is Heath Ledger the Joker that we know?
Heath Ledger.
Was that the Joker that we know? It is to a whole generation.
Yeah, Heath Ledger.
Nobody thinks about Cesar Romero as the Joker, but there's another generation that Cesar Romero is the Joker, and everything else sucks.
I mean, but as far as like the character goes, I mean, you look at the Joaquin Phoenix, and there's two ways to look at it. You can look at it, and you can blow a blood vessel, or two, what I just tell people when they say, "Well, what'd you think of the Joker?" I said, "Well, for an Elseworld story, it's pretty good."
At Marvel, what if stories at DC, Elseworlds? I love that concept. I always have, because then you don't have to worry about canon. But
the one movie you mentioned it earlier, the one movie that got it right 100% was Watchmen.
It really is perfect.
It is.
In my view.
It's my favorite superhero movie.
The other one that got it perfect. There's one more that got it perfect outside of the DC universe, but Sin City.
I was gonna say Spawn.
I didn't think that much of that. I don't really remember it that much, but I think I saw it. But Frank Miller's Sin City is an exact replica of a comic, down to the coloring, down to the character studies, down to the effects, everything. It's
Sin City is it's a great movie.
But Watchmen, as far as an epic, that one they did. Now there's people out there. I mean, I love to watch. You can get the Watchmen extended version that even has the animation in it and stuff. Of the black. What do they call it?
The Black Freighter.
Yeah, the Black Freighter.
Mr. Brown says he says this guy's funny. I like him. Hell yeah, Mick's awesome. Mick is awesome.
Come on over to K-Mick Radio and listen to crazy music with me on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays. We do that too. We're insane.
Yeah, that's just. I mean, when you go inside and you start doing your ink, I mean, doesn't that come into play? Did you ever look at any of the books you're working on and see something that just didn't make sense to you and bring it up to the writer or the artist and sit there and say, have you thought about maybe tweaking this or doing that differently?
As an inker, I don't think that's kosher to do. An inker, to me. Now, there are inkers out there that are total artists that do it all. They pencil, they ink, they write, they do the whole thing. Myself, I'm a specialist. I only ink. That's all I do. And sure, maybe over 30 years, at one or two times, I've said something to a penciler, not to the writer, because the inkers don't deal with writers very much. It's the penciler. The penciler gets the story from the writer, and then the penciler gives me penciled pages to ink. So I don't communicate with the writer very much at all. I communicate with the penciler. And there's been times when I've said to the penciler, maybe this could be different, but generally it's not my place. It's kind of protocol. It's like I do what I do.
Now, did you ever try to write yourself a comic? Did you write a story?
And I've never tried to write. I've never tried to pencil because of the guys that I worked with. I mean, all the names. I've worked with such legends. Barry Kitson, Ryan Sook, J.H. Williams, Lee Bermejo, Brian Azzarello, Alan Moore. I mean, these guys are intimidating as far as their talent. I can't even, like I say, I only do one thing. I ink. I've done it for 30 years. And people keep calling me back to do this job. I've never ever thought about even trying it because I was intimidated to do it. Again, it's that confidence thing. If I had the confidence to do it, I maybe would. But I did a children's book. I did a book with my character, Albie Mouse. It's a ABC book, which was kind of fun. I did that in 2009. I started working at the Academy of Art in San Francisco in 2009 and worked there for 10 years. And it was really inspiring to work with a bunch of great students, and the other instructors there were fabulous artists. So that's when I did my children's book. But it never went anywhere. It got picked up by a little tiny publisher, and it was a bad time to find a publisher, and it barely. I published had my own printed up at first, but then when we went with the new publisher, we went color with the new edition of it at that point. And that was fun, but I don't know if I'll even ever do that again. It's a lot of work, and it's got to be hyper inspired. You have to be hyper inspired to do something like that. All creators blow me away that build books. They blow me away because there's so much
world building.
Yeah, there's just so much inspiration that has to be constant. It's coming up out of your mind all the time and out of your soul. And
that's funny you mentioned it, because I told this story in my video. I put a haul video today. I went to the library, and I was there when I went there last week. They had a whole cart full of Kai Kussler books. Kai Kussler and Alan Moore could be brothers.
Oh, wow. I've never heard that name.
They could be brothers.
Wow.
Clive Cussler wrote a character named Dirk Pitt.
Huh.
Do you remember a movie called Sahara a few years ago with Matthew McConaughey and Penelope Cruz?
Yeah, I didn't see that.
That was Clive Cussler.
Huh, I'll have to look into him. I don't know that name.
Now Clive Cussler did the same thing Alan Moore did. Is that he created a character? They came up to him. They said, "We'd like to buy the rights to your character to make a movie," and he sold them the rights. And then they did it, and all of a sudden, because they didn't do it the way he liked it, he was crying and moping in his cereal. He was like, "That's not right." It's like you sold them you took their money. If you didn't want it, it's like if you didn't want that, you should have not sold it.
Yeah, I don't know the full story behind Alan Moore, but it always seemed to me that he did contract work for DC, and they never really treated him right. And then when he left, they just abused anything they could do because it was theirs. They owned it. And then Alan Moore just said, "Well, I don't want to have anything to do with you, and I'm not taking any of your money. All the money that you make off of Watchmen now goes to Dave Gibbons, my penciler. I don't want that money anymore."
Elizabeth Fremer is here.
Hi, Elizabeth.
She says, do a shout out, Mick.
Hey.
Thank you for coming, Elizabeth.
Yeah, good to see everybody here, man. We're just having fun bullshitting.
Yes, bullshit. Yeah, it's amazing. It's amazing some of those older people like myself, and I'm a little bit older than you, but we get passionate over works like that we really like, that we grew up with. Like
it is impossible not to be.
Oh, it is. It's like I watched Lord of the Rings, right? And I loved it. I absolutely 100% loved it. I was like, this is amazing. I never thought I'd see this in my lifetime. I read the book. I saw the cartoon.
Yeah.
And I'm like, this is never going to be a live action series. They can never do it.
One of the greatest casting ever in a movie is Lord of the Rings. The casting people casted the perfect.
Oh, it was perfect. But in the book, there's a critical element that they didn't cover in the movie, and it was like a toothache. It was just like, why the hell did you skip that? Because it's such an important part of the story.
Wow.
And it got totally forgotten. And I'm sitting there like, okay, It's like one of those things where you look at a piece of art, and the only thing you notice is like like a smudge on the right hand corner. It's like you're missing the whole picture because you're too busy looking at the spot over here.
That's
And
wild.
I didn't want to be that guy, but it was such a huge plot. Like I can't stand plot holes.
Yeah.
I just can't stand. If you have to leave a plot hole in your movie, I'm out of it. I can't follow it if you leave a gaping plot hole.
That's
Do you, do
wild.
you-
If it was something that was that important, how could they leave it out?
exactly. Did you read the series? Did you read
No.
Lord of the Rings? You never read Lord of the Rings? Okay.
No.
Well, it's hard to explain how important it was.
I'll have to
Listen
look
to-
it up. I'll have to look it up on the internet because there must be
Yeah.
somebody must have done a thesis about it, right?
Yeah, look up Tom Bombadil.
Oh, okay, I'll check it out.
Yeah, that was
I mean, Lord of the Rings is a book that I own. I own the book, but I've just never read it. But I've watched we just watched the movie again for the umpteenth time just the other day.
and see the ring absolutely corrupts everybody. Anybody it touches, it corrupts. It just takes longer for the hobbits because they're resistant to it, right? So but there's a character in the book that he gets the ring and it doesn't affect him. It has no effect on him.
Huh.
He just looks at it and sees it's a pretty thing, but it has no effect. He doesn't feel anything at all. Like there's a scene where Frodo's telling Gandalf, here, you take it. If it's so bad, you take it. And Gandalf is like, fuck that, because he knows how bad it is. He knows that if he put his hands on it, it'll start corrupting him. But in the book, it gives it to a character named Tom Bombadil. He just thinks it's just as a pretty bauble. He just thinks he's not affected by it. And to me, it's like, that is such a critical part of the book, but they didn't put it in the movie, and it just drove me nuts. I came out of the theater. I'm going like, why didn't they put Tom Bombadil in there? Because he was like immune to it. It would have been like, but they didn't.
And is there a lot of storyline that goes along with Tom?
There's a little bit, and it comes back and visits a little bit toward the end.
But it's just a thought thing that it puts in your head that you go, oh, some people, maybe Tom's not the only one.
Yeah. And
Wow.
and Tolkien didn't really expound on it within the trilogy. Yeah, see, you're right. See, Elizabeth says that.
That's
yes, Lord of the Rings missed an epic moment. Thank you.
That's very interesting. I never knew that. Yeah.
It's a critical part, and this is like same thing with a comic. You go back to a comic and you go look at Guardians of the Galaxy, or even Captain Marvel, Captain Marvel, or or Iron Man or anything else like that. Now on the movies, they're always going to miss something, or they're not going to hold it, or they're gonna skip over it.
Yeah.
And it's like, I think for the most part, the MCU is pretty good. I think they've done their very best.
Yeah.
As far as getting the origin story. I mean, is that the hardest book to work on as far as a comic book and launching one? Is it the origin stories that's the hardest thing to do?
Well,
you're starting to establish characters.
Well, I've worked on a couple origins that some of them don't go anywhere. You do an origin, you do a short series trying to build a new character that just doesn't go anywhere. People don't connect with. But I always come back to the origins of Superman and Batman that you think, how many times can they continue to just tell it over and over and over again? But it's so iconic that's what blows you away, that you can tell the shooting of Batman's parents 3 million times and people still are interested in it, or the crashing of Superman's spaceship into Earth and Ma and Pa Kent picking him up. These kind of things you go, why is it so iconic? Why is it so amazing that people will listen to it? Or even, mythology like Santa Claus, I mean, it's just so iconic. Human beings just love these long-standing myths. I don't know what it is. It's weird. But yeah, I mean, origin stories are cool. I've always enjoyed working on origins. I remember that book, Secret Origins, that DC put out for a long time.
Yeah.
I always loved that.
Not only that, but the Secret Wars. Oh my gosh! See,
That was Marvel.
that's another thing that drove me nuts too. Is with Spider-Man, it's like they invented Venom, and then they had it's like how are we doing Venom when how are you explaining Venom because
that came out of Secret Wars, right?
Yes, but no one ever talks about Secret Wars. It's always like, okay, we're gonna make Venom. Okay, where did Venom come from? It's Sam Raimi. Where did Venom come from?
Script writer, write me a different origin, please.
Oh, it's just like the suit came down from outer space and got on Peter. Wow, Spider-Man 3. Wow, really? That's what you're going with, right? That's what you're going with? Because the story was so much more better. It was so much more exciting the way the suit came to be and how it became Venom. And it's just like, but they don't do that. They don't talk about that. They can't do the proper origin. And it just drives you nuts because you're sitting there going like, okay, like watching the movie Venom and then Carnage. Let there be Carnage, just like you just like you just want to go up there. It's just like Kevin Smith when he told the Superman story. He was going to go. They got asked to fly out to Hollywood to possibly direct the Superman movie. So he went out there. I don't know if you heard the story or not, but he went out to John Peters' house and they sat down and they started talking about a Superman movie. Like the different ideas. And at the end of it, they said Kevin Smith said that John Peters says, well, in the last third of the movie for the final third of the movie, I want there to be a giant spider in this movie. And it's like Kevin Smith's like a spider. Yes, there has to be a giant spider in the movie somehow, some way. And it's like, well, it doesn't really fit with with what I was gonna and then there's back and forth, and then nothing happened to it. And then Wild Wild West came out with Will Smith and Kevin Kline. And at the end of the third of the movie, here comes John Peters produces. Here comes Kenneth Branagh in what? A giant spider.
This was leftover. We needed to use this.
Look at this, Elizabeth. People need to read 1988 Spider-Man. Thank you so much. See, this is what I'm saying. Read the Spider. I collected when I was younger too. See, I collected in the 80s, late 70s, early 80s. So yes, and that's and it's like they could do Secret Wars right now on Marvel.
I thought I heard they were going to do something Secret Wars.
They're going to do Secret Invasion.
Oh, okay.
So, but they need to develop more characters. They need to bring back Power Man. They need to bring back Jessica Jones because they're critical in the Secret Invasions. They have to bring in a little bit more people in. But Elizabeth is a comic book fan, and she's a fangirl.
That's cool, man.
Yeah, it is cool. She knows this.
There aren't that many left. There's a lot of comic book fans.
Thank you. Thank you for coming on, Elizabeth. This is awesome. She's totally knocking it out of the park here.
That's very cool.
So, what's your favorite characters, Mick? I'll start on.
Batman is it for me. I mean, there's nothing comes close to Batman. I've always loved it. I even like obscure ones. There was a character called like I say, I'm very DC. I love this character Steel. He also went as Commander Steel, and I dug him a lot. He came out of the Justice Society, and I used to always read all the All Stars and All Star Squadron and all those JSA stories. I used to love just all the Golden Age characters that came out of the JSA. And they're bringing those guys back for the Black Adam movie, right? I didn't hear that. I love that.
Yep, they're bringing the JSA with to Black Adam.
Too cool.
I'm hoping against hope.
But yeah, Steel was a real obscure one. He had a metal skeleton, kind of like.
I remember Steel when I remember Steel after the death of Superman.
Yeah.
When
that's different. Yeah, that's a different Steel. Yeah, this was Commander Steel came out of JSA, but then he had a very short Uh, who did it? Jerry Conway, I think, did the Steel comic in about must have been 1980 or something like that. But it was a very short-lived thing. But that was very obscure. But then I liked, like I say, all the I think I have almost a complete run of Justice League, a good chunk of that, and I've kept the majority of my All-Star Squadron stuff too. I always liked that because the All-Star Squadron was later. That's Roy Thomas writing like he's in the 40s, but he's in the 80s. He's writing in the 80s, but he's writing like a 1940s book. So it's very cool, very unique, and it's all fighting the Nazis and everything.
Now, I will say there is probably one part of comic books that I will have to say that it's much better today than it was when I growing up, and that was definitely the writing. The writing is much better today, though I still think there's way too much retconning. But I do think that the writing is. I mean, I think retconning is just lazy. It's laziness. It's absolute laziness.
Well, they're writing for different animals.
How many times what did DC do? They did the New 52. They did Year One.
Right. They just go completely.
They did Black Knight. It was just like
they keep trying to reinvent. Too much. They would rather reinvent than bring in interesting new stuff. It doesn't seem like they care that much. Although now with in the Netflix, Amazon Prime generation, it seems like that they're starting to see, if we bring new stuff in, test it in comics, and then bring Sweet Tooth onto Netflix, let's say. I don't know if you saw the Sweet Tooth series on Netflix. That came directly out of DC Comics, maybe a Vertigo book or something like that. And it's beautiful, and they did a good job at it. So it might be, comics just will continue to be testing grounds for live action.
I thought they did a great job with the first season of Invincible.
Oh, yeah, I didn't see that.
Oh, man, that will blow your mind.
Wow.
That will blow your mind. That is like, it's like Man of Steel.
Huh.
I love Man of Steel, the movie. I absolutely loved it because it was exactly how it was in the comic books. In the comic books, they fucking just go through everything. They destroy things.
Right.
And it's like they're going through flying. That's how that would be. It wouldn't be pristine and pretty. It would be flying through buildings, and there would be people getting whacked and everything else. There'd be the human collateral that would be amazing.
Did you ever read the book that I worked on with J.H. Williams? One of the first things we did, it was called Chase.
No.
It was a great concept. I always thought they should make it into a TV show. And Chase does show up, the character Chase, female investigator for the DOA, DEO, Department of Extra Normal Operation. What her premise was, she shows up in some of the TV shows. You might see Chase every once in a while. But she was developed by J.H. Williams, and she was this investigator that would look into, well, if Doomsday and Superman destroy a city fighting, somebody has to look into that, and find out what the heck was going on. So that was her job. That's where, even in TV shows, you'll see the DEO, Department of Extra Normal Operations, in there, because it's a great concept. You could do a TV show just on this, that these guys need to be somewhere to figure out what the hell's going on with these superheroes, where they're destroying stuff. So
it maybe be DC's version of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
Exactly, yeah.
But done right, because Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
It was also Chase's also had her parents were superheroes in the 50s, and she hated superheroes. So that was another great gimmick about the book, was she had to deal with superheroes every day, but she hated them. She didn't want to deal with them ever. And then all of a sudden, we never got to finish the book. They cut the book off at, I think, 10 issues without even telling us. We never got to finish it at all. They did compile it. They ended up putting it into a trade paperback. But at one point, we start to show that Chase starts to, oh no, I'm getting like some kind of power, some kind of superhero power. I I got to find out to get rid of this. So she's like trying to find a drug that'll counteract these superhero powers because she hates superheroes and she doesn't want to get this power. So it would make actually a really great show. They should take Chase and do more with it. But
That's what Elizabeth says too. She says she loves Cameron Chase.
yeah, she's a great character, man.
Came out in 1998.
Yeah, she's kind of obscure, but yeah, she shows up in some TV shows every once in a while.
I absolutely love the obscure heroes too. Like my favorite hero for Marvel is Stingray.
Oh
then,
yeah,
that's
a good one. Yeah.
And then I also love Jack of Hearts too.
Oh, yeah.
Bummed out they never could figure that out.
I think I remember Jack of Hearts. Yeah,
Jack of Hearts was a badass. He had one of the coolest costumes ever.
I used to love the Atom as a kid. That's just the coolest thing in the world. He could go be so small, you know.
Yeah, and now I just like the smaller ones. I was pretty excited to see for the when Netflix came out with the Iron Fist and Power Man, and I was pretty excited for that. And then Iron Man. Oh, the first season. Oh my God, that was horrible. That was absolutely unwatchable. I felt so bad for Finn Jones. He got fucking he just got screwed over. They gave him oh Lord, it was just awful. Okay. And then it got better with the second season, and then the meeting Power Man, and then they did Defenders. Wasn't true Defenders, but it worked. It worked. It worked okay. It's like, for what it was all right. I was all right with that.
Yeah.
I
feel really blessed that I have been able to do what I've done for 35 years.
You know what? Who's this Elizabeth? Because we got to have her on the show. We got to have you on the show, Elizabeth. Seriously, is this a friend of yours?
Me? No, I don't know Elizabeth. Do I know you, Elizabeth? Have we met? Maybe we met at a convention or something.
Yeah. How do you know Mick, Elizabeth?
You just know of me? Knew of my name from comics?
I don't know. Whoever she is, though, I definitely would have her on the show.
It's fabulous. Fabulous, Elizabeth. We love the fans.
Vastec.
Vastec? What's Vastec?
VASK Tech. Oh, wait a minute. No.
That's Emily. That's Emily there.
Oh, she's a fan.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Have we ever met? Did we ever meet at a convention?
Have you ever met Mick at a convention?
I've met so many people at conventions. I love them. I haven't been to any conventions. I hope we get conventions again soon. She
knows her shit. Yeah. I'm telling you right now. Yeah.
Well, yeah, it's been a crazy ride. I know I'll do more in comics in the future. I got this the Lifehouse project half done. This is I think we talked a little bit about it. This is Pete Townsend of the Who's. If you guys know Who's Next, the album Who's Next with Bob O'Reilly and all those great songs on it, that's the soundtrack to a rock opera that Pete Townsend was going to make called Lifehouse. And we are doing the graphic novel for it right now. But it's been stalled because of contractual obligations. But we're going to finish it.
She's in my backyard, Mick. She's
a Michigan person.
Yeah, she's in Michigan. And she has heard of the Who. Okay, so Elizabeth, that's going to be easy. Yeah, I'm serious. I'm not playing around. I'm going to have her on the show. I want to have her on. Yeah, she knows her. She's dialed. This is awesome.
Got to have the fans on, man.
Oh, I just seriously, it's just so cool. It's actually cool to see fangirls, and they know their shit. They know their shit wired in. They know it better than the dudes. It's always so much fun.
Well, I've always liked comics ever since I was a little kid, and I didn't read comics very much when I was a little kid, but I bought them a lot, and people hate me when I tell them this, but I used to take comics when I was a little kid and cut them all up and make collages out of them. And people go, "No, you weren't cutting up 1960s Kirby comics, no." But I was an artist. I wanted to make collages and stuff, so I used to do that.
I wanted to cut out. I wanted to cut out and put a true believer in the mouth of Spider-Man.
Exactly, that kind of thing. And then I was like too much of a realist where I'd go, there's no way I'd ever be able to make a living at being a comic book artist. So I have to become a drafts person. And then I could become a drafts person and then just fall face first into comic books and never look back. 35 years, just crazy.
You know what I want to do? I want to have you come back when Black Adam comes out.
Oh,
or
yeah. That'd be cool to see.
you know, I'll have to come back like middle, you know, because I know there's like Marvel's going to be releasing a lot of movies.
I did enjoy the Shazam movie. I thought that was great.
I have not watched that yet.
Well, you got to watch that before you watch the Black Adam movie.
I guess I watched it and it was just like, I don't know, they treated him so. The character Shazam, they treated him so like a kid, I guess.
But I mean, if you know, I mean, go back to Shazam. Shazam is just all about this goofy. We used Shazam in Batman and Robin, and it's just he's such a fun character to do because he's a gigantic man with this kid's attitude. You know, that's a fantastic character to play with.
Elizabeth saying here, got in the comics from my grandpa. I couldn't read well, so we started off with comics, and here I am loving and living comics. So yeah.
About 15 years ago, I noticed libraries making that connection right there. Oh, wait a minute. We're having literacy problems? Let's bring comic books into the library, and we can get kids to read. And sure enough, it worked like a gem. It turned around a lot of people.
Oh, there's nothing more exciting, honestly. I mentioned this earlier. To me, there's nothing more exciting than to see a young person with a book in their hand.
Yep.
You know, like when they're, you know, it's like, you know, I would see kids on a bus or, you know, at a store or whatever, and they would be reading, you know, Harry Potter or the Hunger Games or any one of the young adult books, right?
Yep.
And it always just made me feel really good that, you know, that's cool because that was me when I was a kid.
Yeah.
But in today's digital age and technological age, to see people actually read books, it's like I mentioned when I went to the library, you know, they had the whole cart full of Kai Kessler books. They had them there last week. And I was thinking like, holy cow, someone just donated the whole collection. And so, you know, I said, I told the lady there, I said, these will be gone in a heartbeat. You know, you're going to sell these off. There won't be anything here by next week. And of course, I go in today and I'm still seeing the same books. I'm just stunned. I'm stunned because I'm going like, wow, you're selling. And our library sells books really cheap. They sell like you know, they sell paperbacks for 50 cents and hardbacks for $1.
Yeah.
Oh my God, you can build up a librry super fast, right?
Really? Yeah.
I'm going like, okay, so why are these books still here? Because back in my day, they would have been gone. I would have bought every single one of them.
Crazy.
Shazam first came out in Wiz Comics.
Yep.
Yep.
Amazing stuff, man.
I actually reviewed the TV show on my blog. I reviewed the series.
Yeah.
I'm still waiting for them to release Mighty Isis.
Oh yeah.
I tell you what, Mick, I'll let you go. We've been talking for quite a bit here.
Yeah, thank you so much. It's been a gas.
We'll do this again.
Oh yeah, and if anybody's into just Zoom pirate radio, Mick Radio, go to Facebook and join the Mick Radio group. And Monday, Wednesday, and Fridays we do live Zoom radio shows, concept radio. It's a gas. We have a blast. So.
Our friend Brene is here. Hi, Brene. How are you? We are talking with Mick Gray. He's a comic book inker and a DJ. And
and definitely we'll do it again sometime, Patrick.
Yes, definitely for sure, sir. I want to thank the chat very much for being engaging. And Elizabeth, I do hope that I am very serious to my offer with you. I'd like to follow that up, and I'd love to have you on the show. I think that would be amazing. In fact, I think if you did come on the show, I think I could probably talk Mick into coming back on with us.
Fan Geek Night. We'll do Fan Geek Night.
Yes.
Geek out on everything.
Yes, that'll be yeah, let's do that. Let's do that.
Thanks a lot, man. I'm signing off.
All right, we're out of here. I'm going to tell you what's going on real quick in the calendar, and then I'm out. Hang on for 1 second, Mick.
Okay.
Tomorrow night, tomorrow afternoon, I have Darren King will be here at 2 p.m. tomorrow, and then tomorrow night we have a voiceover actress, producer, and actress, Alexis Icono. Wait till you hear her story. She's got a story to tell.
Yeah.
And then on the 16th, Thursday, we welcome in our friend Knight from the Night Watch Zone. Yes. We're going to be talking about why The Shining is not the best movie ever. I know he. I'm just putting some gas in the fire there.
Love it.
Man, these bots are bad. These bots are bad tonight.
What are they doing?
I want to thank the chat for coming in and hanging out with us. We will see you tomorrow afternoon at 2:00. Yep.
Adios. Happy holidays, everybody.
Stay right where you're at, Mick.
Okay.